beware of your own biases, because sometimes biases are a blind spot. Today, we're gonna talk about how to spot your biases, even the ones that you are not aware of, which I believe are the most dangerous ones, because if you don't know what you don't know, if you don't acknowledge that you have that bias, it's impossible to change it. It might be a bias that you are embarrassed by, you don't like, you would like to eradicate, eliminate, outsmart. But if you don't know you have it, it's gonna be tricky, right? So, yeah. One of the books that I would start suggesting for you to read is Blind Spot. I would recommend this book by Harvard leadership trainer. She's an amazing human being, amazing woman. And she said, Miguel, I recommend you reading this book because she helped me identify that I had biases towards gender, that I had biases towards, like the figure of power in a company. And I was like, oh my goodness, no. I'm like, no. In my mind, I'm egalitarian. I'm equal to men, women, people of other genders when it comes to power. And then it's fascinating how first I rejected this. It's like, no, it can't be. But then I could see acts, actions that were objective, and that if observed from a third person, it was clear that I had some biases. And when I started reading this book, the first chapter is mind-blowing. Like, you are really aware of how freaking biased we all are. When it comes to, for example, visual biases and blind spots that we have in our sight, in our retina. So there are spots that we don't see, and it's our mind that feels those images. So it looks like, oh, I can see everything, but in fact we all have a couple of blind spots, and you're gonna discover that in the first chapter of the book. And then you're gonna start seeing gender bias, and then race bias, and race and ethnicity bias. So black and white, or Asian or Latino. And then other biases like age, young, old, and then nationalities, and then religion, and then things as subtle as the team you support or the kind of investments you are on. You are a real estate person, you are a crypto person, you are a stocks person. And when you start realizing all these biases that we all have, for example, biases that might be irrational, and we have this appeal for people who are from the same group as we are. For example, you might see this video and be like, oh, I love beaches, love it, I love this video, I'll keep watching it. Other people be like, oh, I hate the beach, oh, I hate sun, oh, why is this guy like without t-shirt, like topless here in this beach? I don't like it, bye, boop. And these people are not watching this video until this very point. So it's really important to realize these biases, because we might be supporting one group and being consciously or subconsciously contributing to the average or the majority, the major group of people, let's say white Americans. If you have a bias towards supporting white Americans, it doesn't mean like you are gonna do some harm to black people, to Asian people, to Latinos, Latin American people. But the thing is, it's not about the harm that you're doing, but most of the times this bias is shown by the inaction, the harm caused by the inaction, the harm caused by, okay, this person is Latina, so I'm just gonna go by the street, I'm not gonna help them, not gonna help that person. But you see a white person facing some problems, and it's like, oh, if you are white, oh, I'm gonna help that person. If you are black and you see somebody, I don't know, maybe fighting with a black guy, it's like, oh, that person is black like me, I'm gonna help that person. But if you see somebody fighting with a white person and you're black, you might be, oh, let's see what's going on, but maybe I'm just stay here. I'm just gonna stay here. So again, it's not that you're gonna hit the other person or you're gonna do some harm, it's inaction. You know, the same when it comes to hiring. If you are a CEO and you are hiring and you support subconsciously, and that's why it's so important to take the tests to reveal the real bias of your subconscious mind when it comes to race, gender, that you find in the book that I share with you, The Blind Spot, written by Harvard scientists. And yeah, so when you start acknowledging through those tests, great book, you realize that, wow, I might be hiring more men than women. I might be selecting more candidates, men than women. For example, the auditions. There's a great story in the book I'm gonna share with you. Like 50 years ago, more or less, the geniuses, let's say in the music field, people playing in orchestras, musicians playing in orchestras, were 90% men. And people started thinking, wow, men are more talented when it comes to music. Because look, 90% of men are in professional orchestras and just 10% women. But then what they realized is that this belief of men are more talented was a loop, because society thought that men were more talented, and judges, when selecting for the orchestra, thought that. Then they selected more men, and they reinforced the loop. What happened? They applied some engine, let's say, to outsmart this bias, and they said, okay, let's do blind auditions. So we are not seeing, they put just a black curtain. They're just gonna listen to the music, but without knowing who is playing behind that. White person, black person, Latino, Asian, man, woman, young, old. And what happened is that in the next 20 years, after that 90-10, 20 years afterwards, it was a 60-40, 60% men, 40% women. And what do we see with this? Is that sometimes we are favoring the majority, not because we want it, because we intend to do it, because, for example, what the judges or what the directors of the orchestra want is to have the best musicians for the music to sound the best. So it's not about men, women, but they could see the biases there. And imagine how many places these biases are playing. In which fields? Like judges. Imagine, going to prison because you're Asian and the judge was white American, 50 years old, and you are Asian, 20 years old, and the judge feels like, oh, you are not part of my group? Yeah, boom, and it's more severe, 10 years to prison. But meanwhile, if somebody with the same action they did, the same criminal act, was somebody that resembled or was similar in facial expressions, traits, to the, let's say, the judge's son, then what? The judge might be like, oh, don't go to prison, or oh, 1 year. You might be, no, judges should be able to be, but they are human. And again, if they are not aware of these biases, it's gonna affect them, whether they want it or not. So yeah, the best way to realize that we all have biases, I thought, no, I don't have those many biases until I took the test, that it's directly to your subconscious mind. Oh my goodness, eye-opening. So yeah, I would just say, beware of the biases. First way to surpass them is recognizing them, acknowledge them, accepting them, being like, I accept myself for, okay, I see that I'm biased. And then when you show this respect, this love for yourself, and this desire to change, first acknowledging that you have something to change, you want to change, then it's when change can happen. So blind spot the book, read it, and implement the exercises that you will see there, just so that we are more aware and we can build a community, a world community with more inclusivity, more diversity, more belonging. Everything is going to change one person at a time, one CEO at a time. You know, for example, in the hiring of the company, in the culture they want to create. So if you are entrepreneur, CEO, or even whatever, member of some community, mom, dad, whoever you are, you're interacting with people every single day. And the charities you support, the acts of kindness that you're having with somebody, or that you are just omitting, makes a difference. So yeah, if you want to really pursue this journey towards an extraordinary life, I feel like this is key, and I'm happy to share, to talk, to discuss with you about biases, and for you to hold me accountable as well. If you feel like when I'm talking, when I'm recording these videos, I have some bias towards some group, whatever it is, gender, race, religion, whatever it is, yeah, just let me know in the comments, because I want to keep my standards high and keep, reflecting and reminding myself, how did I do today? Was I biased? Was I free from biases? Or at least that's what I'd like to believe, even though I know that it's gonna be a long journey. But hey, it started with the first step. So read the book, The Blind Spot. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this video? What biases you found in yourself? And yeah, just share this with somebody that you want to be accountable for and to be held accountable by. So, Miguel from Colombia, from this beach, I send you the best vibes. I'm gonna start my Temazcal, and I'll see you soon. Till then, be extraordinary and read the book, Spot Your Biases.